before we go anywhere, before I take you back 2,000 years to a city that no longer exists in the form it once held, I need to say something to you directly. What you are about to experience tonight is not simply a history lesson dressed up in candlelight and distant footsteps. What you are about to experience is something far more intimate than that, something that has been waiting, in a very real sense, for exactly this moment, the moment when you are lying still, when the business of your day has finally, mercifully released you, when the room around you is dark, and the world outside has quieted, and your body has begun that slow and beautiful surrender towards sleep. This is the moment stories were made for. Not stories read under bright light at a desk, not stories consumed on a screen while part of your attention is elsewhere, but stories received in the dark, lying down, with your whole body present and your mind just loose enough to travel. And tonight we are traveling very far. Tonight we are going to Rome. Not the Rome you might have visited on a holiday, not the Rome of tourist photographs and crowded piazzas, but Rome as it existed on the night of March 14th in the year 44 before the Common Era, the night before one of the most significant mornings in the history of Western civilization, the night before a group of senators walked into a theater with blades hidden beneath their togas, and the night before the man they were going to kill woke up for the very last time, got dressed in his toga, kissed whoever was nearby, and walked out into a morning that would end him. That morning is tomorrow. Tonight, the night before it, is where we are going. And I promise you that by the time this story reaches its end, you will have been somewhere real. You will have breathed ancient air and walked ancient stone and heard ancient whispers in ancient darkness, and you will have arrived gently and completely at sleep. But before we go, I want to ask you something. Where in the world are you right now as you listen to this? Are you in a city that is still humming outside your window? Cars and voices and the persistent electrical hum of a modern world that never fully goes quiet? Are you somewhere rural where the sounds are older? Wind in trees, maybe, or rain on a roof, or the vast and patient silence of a place that has not forgotten how to be dark? Are you in a bedroom you have slept in 1,000 times, surrounded by objects so familiar they have become invisible? Or are you somewhere unfamiliar tonight, somewhere that does not yet feel entirely like yours? Wherever you are, go to the comments right now and tell me. Tell me your city, your country. Tell me it is 2 a.m. and sleep will not come. Tell me whatever is true. Because the thing about this community, the thing that moves me every single time I see it, is that we come from everywhere, every time zone, every continent, every kind of life. And yet right now, all of us are going to the same place. We are all going to Rome. We are all going to stand together in the same torch-lit street on the same impossible night. And we are all going to let history carry us gently toward morning. So, close your eyes, or let them go soft, unfocused, aimed at nothing in particular. Let your hands rest. Let your jaw release. Feel it now, that small holding you do in your jaw without realizing it, and let it go. Let your shoulders drop half an inch further than they already are, because they can. They always can. There's always more release available than we think. Breathe in slowly through your nose and feel the breath fill the bottom of your lungs first, then the middle, then the top. A full and generous breath, and then let it out through your mouth without forcing it, just opening and allowing. One more time. In and out. Good. Now stay with me, because we are about to step through a door in time, and the other side is waiting. You open your eyes, and the first thing you understand, before you understand where you are, before you understand when you are, before any organized thought has assembled itself into something that resembles a coherent picture of your situation, is that the air is warm. Not the sealed, recirculated warmth of a climate-controlled room, but the organic, living warmth of a city that has been baking under a Mediterranean sun all day and is now releasing that stored heat slowly into the night, the way a stone releases warmth long after the fire that heated it has gone out. The air feels ancient. It feels used in the best possible sense of that word, breathed by millions of lungs across centuries, carrying in its molecules the invisible residue of 10,000 years of human habitation in this particular valley beside this particular river. You breathe it in, and something in the deepest, oldest part of your body recognizes it, the way you sometimes recognize a smell that you cannot name, but that takes you somewhere specific and unreachable in memory. You are in Rome. Ancient Rome. The Rome of the Republic in its final agonized years. The Rome of senators and generals and slaves and priests and merchants and gladiators and philosophers. The Rome that is at this particular moment the largest, wealthiest, most complex, and most consequential city that human civilization has yet produced. It is a city of perhaps 1 million people, which in this era is a number almost impossible to comprehend. A density of human life and human activity that had never before been gathered in a single place. A mass of people living on top of each other in multi-story apartment buildings called insulae that rise 4 and 5 stories into the Roman sky, packed into the valleys between the city's famous hills, crowding along the banks of the Tiber, spilling through ancient city gates into the suburbs beyond the walls. Rome is enormous, and it is loud, and it is overwhelming in the daylight hours. A cacophony of vendors and cartwheels and arguments and music and animals and the constant rhythmic percussion of a city that is always building itself, always expanding, always consuming more stone and timber and human effort in its endless self-construction. But it is not daytime now. It is night. And Rome at night is a different animal entirely. The carts that clog the daytime streets, they are banned from the city center during daylight hours, and so they come at night, rumbling over cobblestones in the darkness, bringing supplies from the surrounding countryside, the sound of iron-rimmed wheels on ancient stone, a constant nighttime soundtrack that the city's residents have long since stopped hearing the way you stop hearing traffic outside a window you have lived beside for years. But tonight, even that sound feels subdued. Even the carts seem to be moving with unusual care, The driver's voice is lower than usual, the animals somehow sensing what the people around them cannot quite articulate, but can absolutely feel. Something is wrong in Rome tonight. Not wrong in a way that announces itself. Not wrong in a way that has a name or a visible shape. Wrong in the way that the air before a storm is wrong. Technically the same air it always is. Technically still breathable and navigable, but charged with something, pressurized with something, carrying in its invisible currents the electrical premonition of what is building just out of sight. You have felt this before in your own life, that specific quality of wrongness that arrives before something large happens, the way your body knows things that your mind has not yet assembled into knowledge. Rome feels like that right now. The entire city feels like a person who is lying awake in the dark, knowing that tomorrow will be different in some way they cannot yet name, but whose certainty they cannot dismiss. You stand up slowly from where you have been sitting, a low stone step at the edge of a narrow street, the kind of step that serves no particular architectural purpose, but appears throughout this city wherever a building's foundation rises above the level of the road, providing impromptu seating for anyone who needs a moment to collect themselves. And you look around at where you are. The street in front of you is narrow and paved with large, irregular stones, fitted together with the same confident precision that characterizes everything Rome builds. Torches burn in iron brackets, mounted to the walls on either side at intervals of perhaps 20 feet, their light warm and unsteady, casting the kind of flickering shadow play that makes everything look slightly more alive and slightly more uncertain than it does in steady light. The flames bend and straighten, in a breath of air so faint you barely feel it on your skin, but which the flames read as clearly as a sentence. The buildings that line this street rise 2 and 3 stories on either side, their lower floors occupied by shops that are shuttered now, their wooden doors pulled close and latched, their goods invisible behind blank facades. The upper floors are residential, apartments packed with the ordinary life of Rome's working population, and as you look up, you can see light in some of the windows, the warm, amber-tinged light of oil lamps, the slightly cooler, more unsteady light of cheaper tallow candles. People are awake up there. More people than you might expect at this hour. More lights than the hour would ordinarily account for. And in the small movements visible through a few open shutters, a shadow crossing a window, a curtain shifting, you read the unmistakable body language of people who are awake, not because they want to be, but because sleep will not come. You begin to walk. And as you walk, the city opens itself to you, the way a city always opens itself to someone who moves through it, slowly and with real attention, not as a grid of streets and buildings, but as a living system, a vast and complicated organism with its own rhythms and temperatures and moods. And Rome's mood tonight is one you have not encountered before, one that does not fit neatly into any category your experience has prepared you for. It is not fear, exactly. It is not anticipation, exactly. It is not grief, or excitement, or dread. It is something that contains elements of all of these things without being fully any of them. A compound emotion for which your language does not have a precise word, but which the Romans in this city tonight would perhaps describe with a single term: the feeling of standing on the edge of something from which there is no return. The street you are walking leads you gradually downhill toward the lower regions of the city, where the density of habitation is greatest and the buildings press most closely together, and the accumulated life of Rome's millions is most immediately, physically present. Even at this hour, even in the relative quiet of a city that has theoretically gone to bed, there are people. Not crowds, nothing like the shoulder-to-shoulder press of the daytime streets, but a steady trickle of individuals moving through the torchlit dark with the purposeful quietness of people who have somewhere specific to be and prefer not to be noticed getting there. A man in a dark traveling cloak passes you going in the opposite direction, his hood drawn up despite the warmth of the night, his face in shadow, his pace quick and steady and somehow communicating, without any single identifiable signal, that he does not want to be stopped or spoken to, or even looked at too carefully. He passes within 3 feet of you without acknowledging your existence and continues up the hill behind you, his footsteps becoming quieter and then inaudible as the darkness absorbs him. You watch him go with the specific attention of someone who has just realized that the city around them is full of people who are keeping things to themselves tonight, who are carrying information and intentions and secrets that are creating a kind of invisible pressure in the air, pressing against the surfaces of ordinary life from the inside, distorting its shape in ways you can feel but not quite see. You pass a thermopolium, one of Rome's ubiquitous street food establishments, a small shop with a counter built into its street-facing wall, with circular holes cut into the counter's surface to hold the large ceramic vessels of hot food and drink that are sold throughout the day to Rome. Many residents who have no cooking facilities in their own apartments. It should be closed at this hour, and it is. The counter is empty, the vessels removed or covered, the fire beneath them allowed to go dark. But the shop's owner is sitting on a stool just inside the open doorway, and he is not asleep. He is a heavy-set man of perhaps 50, with the particular skin of someone who has spent decades standing near heat, and he is sitting with his thick forearms resting on his knees and his eyes directed at the middle distance of the street in front of him, watching the night go by with an expression that is neither bored nor alarmed, but simply attentive, like a man who has decided that watching is what this night requires and is applying himself to it with professional thoroughness. You slow your pace as you pass him, and for a moment your eyes meet, and something passes between you that is not quite a conversation, but contains the essential element of one, a mutual acknowledgement of the night's particular quality, a shared recognition that both of you are awake at this hour for reasons that neither of you could fully articulate, but that both of you understand perfectly. He gives you a very small nod, the kind of nod that says, "I see you and I am not concerned by you. And isn't this a strange night? And I hope you get where you are going safely, all in a single minimal downward movement of his chin. You return it, and then you have moved on, and he's behind you. And the torchlight from his doorway fades at your back, like a fire going out. The voices are everywhere if you listen carefully. Not loud voices. Nothing about tonight is loud. Nothing about the energy of this city right now reaches for volume or declaration. But underneath the baseline sounds of the city at night, the distant cartwheels, the occasional bark of a dog somewhere in the darkness, the wind moving through the narrow spaces between buildings with a sound like breathing. Underneath all of that, there is a constant, shifting texture of human voice. People talking on upper floors with their windows open. People standing in doorways and speaking in tones, low enough that the specific words dissolve before they travel far, leaving only the melody of conversation, the rise and fall of spoken language that you cannot decode but can absolutely feel. And what you feel listening to these disembodied voices as you move through the darkness between torches is that the conversations happening all over this city tonight are not the conversations of people filling time. They are the conversations of people trying to figure out something, trying to understand something, working through something that they do not yet have enough information to resolve. You stop for a moment in the space between two torches, where the darkness is deepest, and you simply listen. From the window, 2 floors directly above you, a woman's voice is speaking in a rapid, low, urgent whisper that you can hear clearly, even though you cannot make out the words, the consonants and vowels of Latin, arriving to your ears as pure sound rather than meaning. A river of sound that carries in its current the unmistakable emotional content of worry. She is worried. Someone up there is worried, and is expressing that worry to someone else in the quick, repeated, slightly circular way that people express things that circle rather than resolve, that come back to themselves because there is no conclusion available. And after a pause, a man's voice responds, slower, lower, with the deliberate cadence of someone attempting reassurance while privately sharing the concern they are trying to soothe. His words drift down to you in fragments, sounds without meaning, and yet somehow you understand the shape of what he is saying as clearly as if you spoke his language. Tomorrow will come as tomorrow always comes. We will face it when it arrives. There is nothing to do tonight but wait. And that sentence, there is nothing to do tonight but wait, hangs in the air above the street like something solid, like something you could reach up and touch, because it is the sentence that the entire city is living inside right now, even those who would not put it into those words, even those who would insist that everything is perfectly ordinary and there is nothing to wait for. They are all waiting. The man in the dark cloak walking quickly uphill, the thermopolium owner on his stool, the voices at the upper windows, the people behind the closed doors and the shuttered shutters and the latched gates of the courtyard homes of the wealthy, where the fountains still run, but the inhabitants have gone to bed without sleeping, all of them waiting. For what? Most of them would say they do not know, but they know. The way people always know somewhere below the level of conscious knowledge, somewhere in the body's oldest and most honest register. They know something is coming, and in the morning, they will find out what it is. But that is the morning. Right now is the night, and the night still has hours. You walk on. The city breathes around you. Doors stand half open in the warm night air, and through them you see the ordinary interiors of Roman homes, the small atrium at the entrance, open to the sky, the impluvium in its center, where rainwater collects in a shallow pool, the Lars, the small household gods and their shrines in the corner, their tiny terracotta faces lit by the single oil lamp that burns before them every night, the household's small daily offering to the divine. In several homes, the lamp before the laird shrine is burning brighter than usual tonight, freshly tended, recently replenished with oil. Someone in each of these households has gone to the shrine tonight with more care than usual, had stood before the little gods and said something, asked for something, placed the offering with more deliberateness than the routine requires. People in this city are praying tonight, not in the public temples. Those are closed at this hour. Their priests retired, their sacrificial fires banked, but privately, in the intimate darkness of their own entryways, before the gods of their own households, the people of Rome are asking for something. You do not know what they are asking for, but you can feel the asking in the air the way you can feel weather changing, not in any single identifiable thing, but in everything at once, a shift in the quality of the world that your body understands before your mind can name it. You turn into a narrower street that runs roughly parallel to a larger road you have been walking beside, and the character of what you hear immediately changes. The wide road was open to whatever passed along it. Its sounds dispersed into the night air without accumulation. This narrow street is different. Sound collects here, bounces between the close walls, gets trapped in corners and doorways and the recessed archways of shop fronts. And what has been collecting in this particular alley tonight is the specific, pressurized sound of people saying things they cannot say anywhere else. You are 4 steps into the alley when you hear it. Not words, not yet, but the quality of voices that are trying very hard not to be heard and succeeding only partially. The way a fire that is being smothered still leaks light. 3 men are standing in the deep shadow of a recessed archway, perhaps 20 feet ahead of you. They are standing very close together. The proximity of conspiracy. The posture of people who need to ensure that only those within the circle can receive what is being passed between them. You cannot see their faces clearly from where you are. You can see only the suggestion of them, the drape of togas, the particular stillness of people who are paying very close attention to what they are saying and hearing, the occasional small gesture, a hand raised briefly, a head inclined, the movement of a forearm that might be emphasis or might be caution. You move more slowly, more quietly. Your footsteps on the stone are unavoidable, but you minimize them, placing your feet with a care that is instinctive rather than calculated. the deep animal instinct of a creature that understands, without being told, that the thing happening ahead of it is not meant for general observation. You get close enough to hear, not in everything, but enough. Enough to understand the shape of what you are overhearing, even where the specific words blur or drop below audibility. A name, spoken quietly but spoken Cassius, and another, Brutus, and a third, spoken with a different quality, spoken with the specific weight of a name that fills a room even when whispered, Caesar. And then more, fragments that arrive to you in sequence like pieces of a mosaic you are receiving one tile at a time, each one a small piece of a picture that is not yet fully visible, but whose overall shape you can already see. Tomorrow, the theater of Pompey. The Senate convenes. It must be tomorrow before he leaves for the East. All arrangements are in place. Too many already know. Too long has passed. It must be tomorrow. You stop walking. You are still in shadow. They cannot see you any better than you can see them. And you stand completely still and let the words come to you. And as they come, something happens in your body that is not quite fear and not quite awe, but lives somewhere between the two. The physical sensation of being in the presence of history before it happens, of standing inside the gap between cause and effect, in the space where the decision exists and the consequence has not yet arrived. What you are overhearing in this anonymous Roman alley on an anonymous Roman night is the conspiracy that will end the Roman Republic. These are not three men planning something petty. These are men, and there are more than three of them. You sense that from the way they speak of others, of arrangements, of those who know, who are in the process of ending one world and beginning another, and who do not entirely know that yet, and who would perhaps proceed differently if they did. The tallest of the three speaks again, and his voice is the most controlled of the three, precise, measured, the voice of someone who has been a senator long enough that the management of tone has become automatic. Everything depends on the morning going exactly as planned. There must be no hesitation. No one can hesitate. We have discussed hesitation, and we have agreed that hesitation is not available to us tomorrow. A pause. Then one of the others, shorter, rounder, his toga slightly rumpled in a way that suggests he has been wearing it for a very long time, today without removing it. And Caesar, he suspects nothing. The tall one, he suspects what Caesar always suspects, which is that everyone around him is devoted to his greatness. He has never learned to read the room, only to command it. Tomorrow the room will not behave as he expects. And then the third man speaks, and his voice is different from the other two, in a way that you register before you can explain. Quieter, slower, with a quality that is not exactly reluctance, but is adjacent to it. The voice of someone who has committed to something and is still somewhere beneath the commitment, working through the implications. And after, when it is done, what happens after? The silence that follows this question is longer than any of the previous silences. It is the silence of three men confronting, simultaneously and privately, the thing they have all been trying not to confront directly. The fact that they have planned the act with great care and have given considerably less thought to its consequences. History will record that this was, in fact, the fundamental error of the conspirators. Not the act itself, but the assumption that the act would be sufficient. That the world, having been presented with the removal of Caesar, would simply reorganize itself into something better without further management. That men of good intentions, having done the necessary terrible thing, could simply step back and watch the Republic restore itself. It would not, but they do not know that yet. And standing in this alley, listening to them not answer the third man's question, you feel the weight of everything they do not yet know pressing on them from all sides, invisible and immense. The tall one says, finally, after is after. Tomorrow is what we must attend to. We have discussed after, and after will take care of itself. Let us go over the order of tomorrow one more time. You take a slow, deliberate step backward, and then another. You do not run. Running would make noise and draw attention, and there is something about the quality of this alley, of this conversation, of this night, that feels too fragile for running, too close to its own edge. You back away from the three men slowly and carefully, the way you back away from something sleeping that you don't want to wake. And when you have put enough distance between yourself and the archway that the murmur of their voices is no longer distinguishable from the ambient sound of the city, you turn and walk back the way you came, out of the narrow alley and back into the slightly wider street beyond it. And you breathe. You let the open air hit your face and you breathe. And you feel the weight of what you just heard settling into you, like something physical, like something that has mass and temperature, something that your body is now processing alongside the food and water of the day, something that has entered you and will be in you, now regardless of what happens next. The conspirators are real. The plan is real. The morning is real. And Julius Caesar, somewhere in the city right now, in his home on the Palatine Hill perhaps, or in the house of Calpurnia his wife, or wherever he has chosen to spend this last night of his life, is asleep, or trying to sleep, or lying awake, looking at the ceiling in the specific darkness of a man who does not know what is waiting for him in the morning. And the fact of his not knowing, placed beside the certainty of what you have just overheard, creates a sadness in you that is so pure and so clean it almost feels like something else, almost feels like love. You keep walking. The city continues. The torches burn their steady, unsteady flame. Somewhere ahead of you, beyond the next intersection of streets, something is waiting that you have not yet seen. The great open public spaces of Rome, the Forum and its surroundings, the architecture of power itself, standing empty in the dark, you feel pulled toward it, the way you are sometimes pulled toward the center of a thing, the place where the weight lives, the still point around which everything else moves. You are being pulled toward the Forum, and you follow. Nothing in your experience of Rome during the daylight hours, and you understand somehow that you have experienced this city in daylight, that you carry within you the impression of it, even without specific memories attached. Nothing in that experience prepares you for what the Roman Forum looks like at night. In the daytime, it is overwhelming. A dense, impossibly crowded, layered accumulation of temples and colonnades and rostra and monuments and basilicas packed into a space that seems far too small to contain it all. Every surface covered with inscription or decoration or political graffiti. Every available inch occupied by some piece of public Rome, asserting its importance. It roars in the daytime. It commands. It is the center of the world, and it knows it, and insists on the fact with every column and pediment and gilded roof. At night, it is something else entirely. You enter the Forum from the eastern end, through the gap between the Temple of Castor and the Temple of Saturn. And what opens before you as you step through is a space that seems impossibly larger than it is in the daytime. The buildings are still there, the temples and the colonnades and the monuments, but without the crowd of thousands of people pressing through them and around them and against them. They have recovered their actual scale. The columns of the Temple of Saturn to your left are immense. They are 20 feet tall if they are anything, carved from ancient stone, in a shade of pale gray that the torchlight turns to something warmer and more golden. And they stand in a line along the temple's facade with the patient, absolute confidence of things that have been standing exactly here since before anyone currently living was born, and intend to keep standing long after everyone currently living is gone. They do not notice the night. They do not notice anything. They simply are, with the spectacular indifference of stone that has achieved something close to permanence. The sacred way, the Via Sacra, the most famous street in the world, the road along which triumphant generals have marched their armies and their captives and their plunder through the adoring roar of 1,000,000 Romans, is empty, completely, absolutely empty. You can see it clearly from where you stand, a broad paved road running through the center of the Forum, its stones worn smooth and slightly concave from centuries of use, its surface catching the torchlight from the brackets mounted on the facades of the buildings that line it, and reflecting it back in fragmented gleams. A mosaic of light and shadow that shifts as you move, as if the road itself is slightly alive, breathing in its own slow and geological way. You walk into the Forum. Your footsteps on the Via Sacra are the loudest thing in this space, and you feel them acutely. The specific exposure of being the single human presence in an enormous public space designed for thousands. The way sound without competition becomes something much larger than itself. Each step announces itself, and then the announcement echoes briefly off the stone facades of the surrounding buildings before dying. And the silence that follows each echo is somehow more complete than the silence that preceded it, as if sound makes the quiet heavier by contrast. The rostra is to your north, the great curved platform from which Rome's orators have addressed the crowds of the Forum since time older than living memory, its front decorated with the bronze prows of ships captured in ancient naval victories. Those bronze rams still visible in the torchlight, as dark, organic shapes that protrude from the platform's face like something the stone has grown, rather than something attached to it. You have heard speeches delivered from that platform. You carry in you somehow, the echo of the forum full of people, the extraordinary particular roar of a Roman crowd. Not the roar of a single animal, but the simultaneous voice of thousands of individual humans, each shouting their own word, their combined sound, becoming something none of them could have produced alone. That sound is utterly absent now. The silence that occupies the space where that sound lives is so complete, it almost has a shape. You walk to the rostra, and you climb the steps at its side, 5 wide stone steps that take you up to the speaking platform. And you stand where Caesar has stood, where Cicero has stood, where the great and the ambitious and the desperate men of Rome have stood to make their cases to the citizens below. You look out across the empty forum from this elevation, and you feel something shift in your relationship to the space. From up here, the forum reveals its true proportions. The distance from the rostra to the temples at the far end, the width of the Via Sacra, the height of the surrounding buildings, all of it clarified by the perspective that elevation gives. And from up here, the emptiness of the forum is even more profound than it was from the ground, because from up here you can see all of it at once, can take in the full scale of the absent crowd, can feel with your whole body the negative space of the million people who are not here. But there's something else standing on the rostra, looking out across the empty forum in the Roman night. There is a feeling of weight. Not the weight of the stone beneath your feet, though that too is immense. The weight of everything that has happened in this space. Every decision made here, every law proclaimed here, every execution announced from this platform, every treaty ratified, and every war declared, and every triumph celebrated, and every scandal broken in the hearing of the crowd. All of it has left something behind, the way every event leaves something behind, even in the physical space where it occurred, even in stone and air that cannot feel or remember, but that carry somehow the impression of all that has been pressed into them. The forum is full of its own history. It is saturated with the past. And standing in it tonight, on this particular night, you feel that past pressing against the present from all sides. Feel the weight of everything that has happened here as a physical sensation, a kind of atmospheric pressure that your body registers even when your mind cannot fully process it. You stay on the rostra for a while. You do not need to go anywhere. You do not need to see anything specific. You simply stand in the center of the Roman world, in the space from which the world has been addressed and commanded and organized for centuries, and you let the night hold you in it. The torches burn at the edges of the forum. The columns of the temples stand in their ancient patience. The Via Sacra gleams below you, empty and silver in the flickering light. And somewhere in this city, in a room you cannot see from here, plans are being finalized that will make tomorrow unlike any tomorrow this forum has ever received. You breathe. The forum breathes with you in its own way, in the slow respiration of stone and history and the long, patient accumulation of everything human beings have done in this single extraordinary place. You descend from the rostra. Your footsteps on the steps are careful, deliberate. The footsteps of someone who understands that the ground they are walking on deserves attention. You return to the Via Sacra and continue westward through the Forum, passing the Temple of Vesta, the circular temple where the sacred flame is kept burning by the Vestal Virgins. That flame that must never be extinguished. That eternal fire that is Rome's most intimate relationship with the divine. And you see it through the temple's columns, visible even from outside. The Vestal fire burning in the dark. A small and steady flame. Completely steady. Unlike the torches that gutter and lean in every slight breath of wind. The Vestal fire burns with a stillness that seems almost supernatural, a constancy that the world around it cannot achieve. It has been burning without interruption for longer than anyone currently alive can remember. It will keep burning tomorrow, after everything that is about to happen. That is its job. That is what it is for. To keep burning, regardless. You walk past it and out the other end of the Forum, and the city closes around you again as you re-enter the network of streets beyond the great public space. And you carry with you the particular quality of having been somewhere sacred. Not sacred in the narrow religious sense, though that too, but sacred in the broader sense of having been somewhere that has been touched by so much human significance that it has become more than itself, has become a container for meaning that exceeds what any single building or stone or flame can hold on its own. You carry the Forum with you as you walk. You will carry it for the rest of the night. Let your body sink a little further. Whatever tension has been holding your shoulders up, let it go now. Feel the weight of your arms, your legs, the gentle heaviness of your body at rest. You are still walking through ancient Rome, but you are also here, wherever here is for you tonight, lying in your own darkness, in the warmth of your own particular night. These two things are not in conflict. They coexist, the way a dream coexists with the body that is dreaming it. The body perfectly still, perfectly present in its own place, while the mind travels freely in the space the body has made for it, by going quiet. Let your body go quiet. Let your mind travel. Rome is waiting. You are in the Suburra now, or near it, in the district below the Palatine Hill where the streets are narrower, and the buildings taller, and the population denser, and the smell of the city more immediately present. The smell of 10,000 lives being lived in close proximity, cooking and animals and bodies, and the particular mineral smell of the city's water, brought from the surrounding hills through the great aqueducts that are perhaps Rome's most remarkable achievement. Clean water delivered to the city's fountains and public baths in quantities that the rest of the ancient world can barely imagine. The fountains are running now, as they always run, night and day, the water falling into their stone basins and flowing away through the channels, cut into the road's surface to the great underground drains beneath. The sound of running water is the consistent background note of Rome at night. Underneath all the other sounds, a continuous whisper of water moving through stone that has been here longer than the current buildings and will be here long after they are gone. You see them before you understand what you are seeing. A group of men moving with a specific, coordinated purposefulness of a military unit. not marching, not in formation, but moving together with the unconscious synchrony of people who have long practiced moving together. People whose bodies have learned to occupy space in relation to each other, rather than independently. There are 8 of them, perhaps 10, and they are moving along a street slightly wider than the ones you have been in. And there is something in the way they move, the way the crowd of the street, which even at this hour has a few people in it, makes space for them without being asked. Rome is holding its breath. You have felt this quality in the city all night, the sense of a collective, involuntary, unconscious breath holding. The entire city's 1,000,000 people somehow participating in the same suspended moment. But it has never been as complete as it is right now. At this hour, in this silence, Rome is not simply quiet. It is suspended. It is at the exact balance point between 2 states, between the night that is ending and the morning that is beginning. And in this balance point, nothing is moving. Nothing is changing. The world is held in a single perfect moment of not yet dawn, not yet the Senate, not yet the thing that is going to happen in the theater of Pompey when the session begins and the senators file in, and the man at the center of all of it takes his seat and looks around at the faces he has known for decades and does not notice, because he has never learned to notice the thing that those faces are concealing. Not yet. All of that is in the not yet, and you are in the now. The now is silence. The now is this street and this stillness and this enormous quiet that the city is generating together without knowing it or intending it, simply as the natural consequence of having been awake all night under the weight of something it could feel but could not name, and having finally arrived in the last hour before morning at the place where the weight can be set down, where the holding can end, where the only available choice is surrender to whatever the morning brings, because the morning is too close now to be avoided or bargained with or prepared for in any way that has not already been done. The silence has a sound. This is not a contradiction. The silence has the sound of everything that is not making noise. The city's millions of sleeping people, breathing in their dark rooms, dreaming their disconnected dreams. The sound of the Tiber moving through its channel between the city's banks, too far to hear as specific water, but present as a suggestion of movement, a low and continuous sub-bass note in the city's soundscape that you have been hearing all night without quite registering as a separate thing. The sound of the stars, which do not actually make sound, but which the night makes you feel as if they do. Some ancient, resonant, sub-perceptible frequency that the human body registers as a kind of vibration in the chest, a feeling of being surrounded by something vast that is itself vibrating at a frequency below the threshold of hearing, but above the threshold of feeling. Breathe into the silence. Let your breath join it rather than interrupt it. Let the sound of your breathing become part of the silence's texture rather than an intrusion into it. You are part of this night. You have been part of it since the moment you arrived. Your walking through these streets has been a kind of participation in Rome's last night, a witnessing that is also a form of care, a form of attention that is the deepest form of respect that any living thing can offer any other living thing, or any place, or any moment in time. The respect of being fully, genuinely, unreservedly present for it. You have given Rome that tonight. You have given this night that. And now the night is giving something back in the way that nights always give something back to those who stay in them long enough and attend to them carefully enough. It is giving you the specific gift of the silence before dawn, the most private and most complete silence that exists in any city anywhere, the silence that belongs to the hour when the night has done everything it is going to do, and the day has not yet begun to assert itself, and the world exists, briefly and beautifully, and without any agenda at all, in pure suspension. Stay here for a while. There is no hurry. The dawn will arrive when it arrives, and when it does, you will still be here, and you will still be present for it, and everything will proceed as it is going to proceed. But right now, for these minutes, for this specific collection of moments that belong to no one and to everyone, and to this particular point in the long breathing of time, you are in the silence. Let it have you completely. Something has shifted in the air, not dramatically, not the way a sound or a light shifts, not anything you could point to or describe precisely, but something that your body registers before your mind does. A change in the texture of the atmosphere that arrives first as a feeling in the chest, a very slight change in pressure, a barely perceptible shift in what the air is carrying. You have felt this quality of air before in your life, usually before something significant, usually in the hours before a change that you somehow knew was coming, even when you could not have said what it was or when. The air before a storm, the morning before a diagnosis, the evening before a conversation that will rearrange something permanently. The air carries things before the things arrive. The air is honest in a way that people cannot always be. The unease that moves through you now is not the sharp unease of fear, not the acute, adrenaline-edged sensation of immediate threat that the body produces when danger is immediate and specific. It is something slower and more diffuse than that, a low-frequency unease that moves through you, the way cold moves through a room when a window is opened, somewhere distant, not hitting you directly, but gradually, pervasively, changing the temperature of everything. You feel it in the back of your neck. You feel it in the particular quality of your breathing, which has become very slightly shallower, very slightly more cautious, without your having decided to change it. The body knows things. Tonight of all nights, the body knows. There's nothing specific to point to. The street is still empty. The torches still burn their diminished flames. The silence is still as complete as it was before. But the silence has changed its quality. Earlier, the silence was the silence of suspension, the silence of a moment between things, a pause between acts, the held breath of a world at its balance point. Now the silence has become something different. It has become the silence of the moment just before something ends, the specific silence that exists in the last few seconds of something while you are still in those seconds and can feel, though not yet see, that they are the last. It is not a comfortable silence. It does not offer the kind of peace that the earlier silence offered. It is the silence of a door that is about to open, and you do not yet know what is on the other side. You begin to walk again, not because you have decided to, but because walking is the right response to this particular quality of feeling. Movement that is not flight, but is the body's way of being in motion, rather than being stationary in the face of something it cannot resolve by staying still. Your footsteps on the ancient stone are very clear in the silence, clearer than they have been at any point in the night, each step announcing itself, and then the echo arriving a fraction of a second later from the wall on your left. Your footstep and its shadow walking beside you through the torchlight. You are not afraid, but you are very awake. The specific, clean wakefulness of someone who is paying complete attention to the world around them, because the world has given them information, however vague, that complete attention is warranted. You pass the base of the Capitoline Hill, the smallest of Rome's hills, but in some ways the most significant. The hill where Rome's most important temples stand, where the city's sacred center is located, where the gold of the temple of Jupiter, Optimus Maximus, glints even in the dark, because gold glints regardless of light levels, because gold was specifically chosen for sacred buildings, precisely because it performs its goldness, even in darkness, because it makes light rather than simply reflecting it. The Capitoline is dark and massive against the sky, its temple rooftops just barely distinguishable from the dark sky above them, the terracotta figures of the pediment statues invisible at this distance, and in this light but present, their presence felt the way the presence of very large things is felt even when they are not clearly seen, as a mass, as a weight in the air, as a gravitation toward them that the body registers as a slight lean in their direction. You stand at the base of the Capitoline, and you look up and you feel it very clearly now. The unease that is not fear, the awareness that is not knowledge, the sense of standing at the very edge of something from which there is no return. Tomorrow, when what is going to happen has happened, people will come to this hill and stand where you are standing and look up at these temples, and they will know that everything is different, that the city they are standing in is not quite the same city it was the day before, that something has been removed from the world that cannot be put back, and whose removal will set in motion a sequence of events whose full consequences will not be visible for decades. But right now, none of that has happened yet. The hill is the same hill it has always been. The temples are the same temples. The gold glints exactly as it always glints. The statues hold their poses with the same patient exactitude. And the city at the base of the hill breathes its pre-dawn breath and waits, without knowing it is waiting, for the morning to come and tell it what it is. Let the unease be there. Do not try to dispel it. It is an honest response to an honest situation, a situation in which something large and irreversible is approaching and cannot be stopped and deserves to be felt rather than managed or suppressed. Feeling things is not the same as being overwhelmed by them. You can feel the unease and stay on your feet and keep walking and keep breathing. The unease is information. It is the body's way of honoring the gravity of the moment, of refusing to pretend that the moment is smaller than it is. Let it honor the moment. And then let your breath, slow and steady and completely reliable, remind you that whatever the moment contains, you are in it, and you will continue to be in it, and there's nothing here that can touch the essential, unalterable fact of your own continuing existence. Breathe. Walk on. The sky is changing. It is the most gradual change imaginable. Nothing that you would point to and say there. That is the moment it changed, because there is no such moment. There's only the long and continuous and barely perceptible process of the night beginning to release its hold on the sky, beginning to loosen the grip of absolute darkness in the east and allow something other than darkness to exist there. It is not light yet. It is the approaching of light, which is a different thing, more tentative, and more beautiful in its tentativeness than the light itself will be when it arrives. The approaching of light is the sky's way of announcing what is coming, of giving the world a chance to prepare, to adjust, to make its peace with the night before. The night is fully gone. You see it first in the east, which is also east in Rome, as it is east everywhere. The direction from which the sun approaches the Mediterranean world in the morning, rising over the Apennine Mountains that form the spine of the Italian peninsula, and sending its advance notice ahead of itself in the form of this specific, unmistakable quality of sky. A darkness that is no longer quite dark. A black that is becoming very deep blue. A deep blue that is becoming slightly less deep. A shift so incremental that if you look directly at it, you cannot see it happening. But if you look away for a few minutes and then look back, the change is undeniable. The stars in the eastern sky are the first to go. Not gone, not yet, but fading. The dimmest ones disappearing first, while the brightest hold on. The sky's gradual brightening, making them, one by one, insufficient against the competition of the approaching day. This is what dawn does to stars, not extinguish them. The stars go nowhere. They continue burning at their incomprehensible distances, unchanged by what is happening in Rome this morning, as they are unchanged by everything, but simply outcompete them. The sun's light, even before the sun itself appears, being sufficiently powerful to make everything else in the sky less visible. The stars will be back tonight, and the night after, and every night for as long as Rome exists, and long after it has crumbled and been built over and built over again. But right now, in this morning, they're being asked to yield, and they yield. The birds know. This is something that happens every morning, everywhere in the world. Something so ordinary that it long ago ceased to be remarkable to anyone, except the person who is lying awake in the last minutes before dawn and happens to be paying attention. The birds know that dawn is coming before any visible evidence of it appears in the sky. Somewhere in the city, in the gardens of the Palatine, perhaps, or in the trees that line certain wider streets, or in the nesting places in the temple eaves that the sparrows of Rome have claimed as their permanent residences across the centuries. Somewhere in the city, the first bird has stirred. You do not hear it yet, but you will in a few minutes. And when you do, it will be the first completely ordinary thing you have heard all night. The first sound that has nothing to do with the night's particular weight and everything to do with the universe's completely indifferent, completely reliable, completely beautiful habit of continuing regardless. The air changes when the light begins to approach. This is a real and physical phenomenon, not a metaphor. The air of pre-dawn is different from the air of the deepest night. Cooler and slightly damper, carrying a freshness that the night's warmth and the night's activity have burned off, but which returns as the temperature drops in the hour before sunrise, and the air picks up the moisture of the morning dew, beginning to form on every horizontal surface in the city. You feel it on your face, the first breath of genuinely morning air, not night air, morning air, the air that belongs to the day that is arriving. It is cool, and it is clean, and it has a quality that the night air, for all its richness and its depth, does not have. The quality of beginning. Morning air always smells of beginning, even on mornings that will not be beginnings for everyone, even on mornings after which some things will never begin again. The air itself carries the smell of starting, of opening, of the world asserting its perpetual willingness to try again, regardless of what yesterday contained. Let that air reach you. Feel it on your face, on your hands. Wherever your skin is exposed to the world, let it remind you of what it is reminding Rome right now without Rome's permission or awareness. That the morning comes, that it always comes, that there is no night long enough or heavy enough or complicated enough to prevent the morning from arriving at its appointed time and doing its work of beginning. The night before the death of Julius Caesar is ending, as every night ends, as this night, your night, wherever in the world you are lying still and breathing and listening to these words, will end. Morning is coming for Rome. Morning is coming for you. And in the space between now and that morning, in this last, most quiet, most suspended portion of the long night, there is only this. Only your breath. Only the approaching light. Only the enormous, patient, beautiful fact of time, continuing to move through the world in the direction it has always moved, carrying everything with it, leaving nothing permanently behind. You begin to move through the city one last time. And you know as you begin this walk that it is the last one, that this is the walk that ends the night, that each step you take now is bringing you closer to the place where the story sets you down, gently, and leaves you to sleep. This knowledge changes the quality of your attention in the way that the knowledge of any ending changes attention, makes everything slightly more vivid, slightly more present, slightly more worth seeing clearly, because seeing it clearly is the last opportunity you will have. The last walk always sees things the previous walks missed. The last walk is the most attentive one. You walk through the forum one more time. It is different now from how it was when you first entered it. The same stones, the same columns, the same vestal flame still burning in its circular temple with its complete and patient steadiness. But the light has changed. The torches are lower, and the first barely perceptible dilution of the eastern sky has reached even here, has softened the absolute dark slightly, has given the forum's great monuments a quality of visibility that the deep night denied them. You can see the columns of the Temple of Saturn more clearly now. their pale stone more itself in this first faint approach of day, their height more evident against a sky that is beginning to be blue rather than merely black. The Forum is receiving the morning. It is being revealed slowly and incrementally by the light that is approaching from the east. Everything in it is exactly as it was, and everything in it looks slightly different in the first light, as things always do, as they always will. The Via Sacra is still empty. You walk its length for the last time. Your steps on the ancient stones, the only steps on this road right now. Your footsteps, the only sound in the Forum's vast silence. And you feel the road's history through the soles of your feet one more time. All the feet that have walked this specific path across all the centuries it has been walked. All the soldiers and senators and slaves and priests and merchants and children and lovers and mourners who have crossed these same stones in every kind of weather and every kind of mood and every kind of historical moment. Your feet are not the first to be here. They are not the last. They are simply the current ones, the feet that belong to this particular passage through this particular moment. And they are doing their job, which is to carry you through and to feel the ground beneath you and to connect you through the medium of ancient stone to everyone who has been here before. You pass the rostra again, the speaking platform from which you watched the empty Forum earlier in the night, and you do not climb it this time. You simply look at it as you pass, letting your eyes move across its surface, across the bronze prow ram still dark and organic looking in the early morning light, across the stone of the platform where so many voices have been raised in so many causes across so many years, and you offer it a kind of silent acknowledgement, the acknowledgement of having been here, of having stood on it and felt what it felt like to occupy the space from which the world has been addressed. You acknowledge it, and you walk on. The temples, you walk past them in sequence: Saturn, Castor, Vesta, and each one receives your attention for a moment as you pass, each one holding its particular quality of ancient significance without requiring anything of you, except that you notice it. The Temple of Vesta is the last, and its eternal flame is still burning, as it has been burning all night, as it was burning before you arrived, and will keep burning after you leave, will keep burning through everything that this morning brings, through the commotion in the theater of Pompey, and the flight of the assassins through the streets, and the confused, frightened response of a city that did not know this was coming until it came, will keep burning through all the political upheaval of the years that follow, through the civil wars and the transformation of the Republic into the Empire and the long centuries of imperial rule. Through all of it, the Vestal flame will burn, tended by the Vestal virgins, who have been tending it through every crisis of the Roman world for centuries, and who will tend it for centuries more, carrying this single flame through the convulsions of history with the same care and the same commitment that they bring to it on an ordinary Tuesday, because for them, every day is the day the flame must not go out. And on the day the flame must not go out, there is no such thing as an ordinary Tuesday. You leave the Forum for the last time, back through the gap between the temples, back into the network of streets that surround it, back into the residential and commercial city that exists in the Forum's shadow and has always existed there. The city that continues and will continue, regardless of what the Forum contains or what politics plays out in the great public spaces at its center. The streets of ordinary Rome receive you, and they are beginning to stir. Not much. Not yet. Not with the full energy of a city waking into its day, but beginning. Here and there, a shutter being opened, the sound of it carrying clearly in the morning quiet, the creak of a door on ancient hinges, a voice, the first voice of the morning, not yet the voice of someone with a destination, but the voice of someone stretching and finding the day and making the small, involuntary sounds of a body re-entering wakefulness. The city is waking. It does not know what this particular day holds, but it is waking into it with the same willingness, the same automatic body-level orientation toward the day's possibilities that it brings to every morning. You walk through the waking streets slowly. You are not in a hurry. The story has all the time it needs. Your body has all the time it needs. There is nowhere to arrive by any particular moment. There's only the walking and the seeing and the gradual, beautiful, unhurried process of the night releasing you towards sleep, the way a tide releases a boat, not pushing it, not pulling it, just gradually as the water withdraws, allowing what has been held by the depth of the night to come to rest in the shallows of the approaching morning, still and quiet and safely arrived. You have found a place to stop. A low wall along the edge of one of the city's wider streets. Not a grand wall, not the wall of any important building, just the boundary wall of a private garden behind which you can hear, very faintly, the sound of a fountain still running in the dark interior of the garden, still cycling its water through whatever geometric pattern of channels and basins the garden's owner designed for it, completely indifferent to the hour and to everything else. The wall is waist high and you lean against it, and the stone is cold at your back, and the cold is good. It is one of the last fully awake sensations you are going to have in this city, and you receive it as such, with the specific attention of someone taking a last look at something before turning away. Rome spreads out around you in every direction, visible in its first light version, not the full daylight version with all its color and noise and overwhelming detail, but the softer, more essential version that the pre-dawn provides. A version in which the most important things remain visible, and the less important things fade into the soft gray-blue of the morning's first light. A version in which the city is most purely itself, stripped of the performances that daylight requires. You can see rooftops. You can see the tops of columns, the curve of dome-like structures, the cypress trees in their severe verticals pointing upward with the same quiet certainty they have been pointing with all night. You can see the Tiber somewhere in the middle distance, its surface catching the first light in a long, unsteady gleam that tells you where the river is before you can see the river itself. You can see the hills, all 7 of them, or the suggestion of them, their shapes distinguishable against the lightning sky. This is Rome, all of it, simultaneously, before the day has sorted it into the parts that matter and the parts that don't, before the crowd fills it and the commerce begins and the politics resumes and the ordinary machinery of the most powerful city in the world starts grinding through another day's worth of the work of being powerful. Before all of that, before the morning that this particular day holds, you are seeing Rome in its last moment of full innocence. Not innocence in the moral sense. Rome has never been innocent in that sense. But innocence in the sense of not yet knowing, of being still in the before, of not yet having received the information that this day will deliver and that will change, among many other things, the city's own sense of itself. History is not loud when it begins. This is something you have understood better tonight than you have ever understood it before. Understood it not as an intellectual proposition, but as a felt experience, as something your body knows alongside your mind. The night you have just walked through is proof of it. Nothing happened tonight that looked like history from the outside. A city slept poorly. People whispered in doorways. A soldier wrote something on a wax tablet. Two old friends talked about a fish. A child stood in a doorway and looked at the world with open eyes. A flame burned steadily in a circular temple. Men gathered in a room and spoke carefully about tomorrow. Nothing that would make the scrolls. Nothing that the historians will mention when they recount the events of this period. And yet all of it was history. All of it was the specific, irreplaceable texture of the moment before the thing that the historians will mention. The flesh on the bones that the record preserves. History begins the way all large things begin. Quietly, in the private spaces, in the small decisions, and the small feelings, and the small moments of people who do not know they are making history and would not change what they are doing if they did, because what they are doing is simply living, simply being human in the specific time and place they were given to be human in, simply doing the best they can with the night they have been handed. That is all any of us ever do, and it is enough. It has always been enough. The record may or may not preserve our names. The histories may or may not mention the specific quality of our particular darkness. But we were here. We breathed the air of our time. We felt what our time asked us to feel. We carried what our time asked us to carry. And we were present for it, genuinely, bodily, completely present. And that presence, multiplied across the billions of human lives that have been lived in all the times that have existed, is the actual substance of history, not the events, the presence inside the events, the being there that makes events real. You have been there tonight. You were there for Rome's last night, and Rome was there for you. The morning is close now. You can feel it in the quality of the light, which has progressed from the first, barely perceptible dilution of darkness to something that is starting to deserve the name light on its own terms. A very soft, very gray, very diffuse light that comes from everywhere in the eastern half of the sky at once rather than from any specific point. The light of the sun still below the horizon, but already reaching its hands up and over the edge of the world and beginning to touch the tops of things. The cypress trees are visible as shapes now. The roof lines of the buildings around you have emerged from the dark and are taking on their daytime character, becoming themselves again after the long anonymity of the night. Somewhere on the Palatine Hill, in whatever room he slept in, Julius Caesar is waking up, or will wake up soon. He will rise the way he always rises, with the specific energy of a man whose mind is always already in motion before his body has fully left sleep, always already planning and considering and moving through the day's agenda in his head before he has put on his sandals. He will dress. Someone will help him with his toga. That complicated, unwieldy, magnificent garment that Romans spend years learning to wear correctly, that requires assistants to put on properly, that is both the costume of power and the daily uniform of the city's ruling class. He will perhaps eat something, perhaps not. Caesar was not a man notable for his attention to food. His attention was always elsewhere, always on the next thing, the larger thing, the thing that lay beyond the immediate. And then he will go out into the morning that is now arriving, into the first daylight of the 15th of March, into the Ides. He will go to the theater of Pompey, where the Senate has been convened, because the Senate's own building, the Curia, is being renovated. An irony of history that places Caesar's death in a building associated with his greatest rival, a man who has been dead for years, but who has, in this small and accidental way, had the last word. He will go into the theater of Pompey, and he will take his seat, and the session will begin to convene, and the men he has known for decades will approach him one by one with their petitions and their questions and their small requests, and he will deal with them as he always deals with them, with the specific, slightly impatient efficiency of a very busy man receiving the claims on his time, with one part of his attention, while the rest of his attention is already on the next thing. And then it will happen. It will happen quickly, more quickly than anyone there will have expected, including those who planned it. The knife of Casca will be the first, from behind, at the shoulder or the neck, the cut that will cause Caesar to turn and say the words. In Latin, not in Greek as the later legends will have it, though who knows, in those last chaotic moments, what language a man reaches for. And then the others, 23 wounds before it is done, a number that posterity finds both excessive and significant, a number that suggests something about the psychological state of the men who were making those wounds, men who had been building toward this act for months and who, in the moment of it, could not stop, could not find the stopping place, could not locate the moment when enough had been done, and what remained was simply standing with what they had done. But that is not yet. That is tomorrow, in the sense that this story uses tomorrow, the tomorrow that begins when this night ends, the tomorrow that is still on the other side of the dawn, that is still arriving. Right now, this morning, in this light that is growing but has not yet fully arrived. Right now it is still the before. The Senate has not yet convened. The theater of Pompey is empty of senators, its stone seats arranged in their tiers waiting to be filled by the men who will fill them and will then do what they will do. The morning is arriving into a city that does not yet know what this morning holds. And you are in it, standing at the edge of it, feeling the dawn on your face with the specific mix of emotions that a night like this produces in a person who has been fully present for it. Something like grief for what is about to be lost. Something like awe for the scale of what is about to happen. Something like gratitude for having been here to witness the night before it. And underneath all of these, something quieter and more persistent. The simple, bodily, irreducible peace that comes from having been completely, honestly, courageously present inside a difficult and enormous and irreplaceable experience. Let that peace be there. Let it be there alongside everything else, alongside the unease and the weight and the specific sadness of knowing what tomorrow brings to people who don't yet know it. Let peace coexist with all of that, the way peace always coexists with difficulty in a person who has chosen to remain present rather than to flee. Peace does not require the absence of difficulty. Peace is not the same as the absence of difficulty. Peace is what happens inside you when you stop fighting the difficulty and simply let it be what it is, while you remain what you are. You have done that tonight. You have been in a difficult and weighty place, and you have stayed in it, and you have looked at it honestly, and you have not been undone by it. That is peace. That is the peace that this night has been building toward in its slow and patient and circuitous way from the first moment you arrived in it. Your body is very heavy now. The good kind of heavy. The specific welcome weight of a body that has been doing a great deal and is now receiving permission to stop, to set down what it has been carrying, to release what it has been holding, to let gravity do the work that the body has been doing on gravity's behalf all night. And that gravity is now gently and insistently reclaiming. Feel it. Let it happen. Your legs, your arms, your shoulders, the muscles of your back, all of them loosening in sequence, all of them understanding that the night is ending, that the walking is done, that what remains is only this, the breath, and the dark, and the slow, beautiful approach of sleep. Something has been released in you that you may not have known you were holding. It is the tension of witnessing, the specific alertness that being present for difficult things requires, the held quality of a person who is paying full attention to something that deserves full attention. You have been paying that attention all night. You have given it to the streets of Rome, and to the people in those streets, and to the city's last night, in all its weight, and its complexity, and its small, irreplaceable human detail. And now that attention can relax, the night has received it. The city has received it. And the attention that you gave them is returning to you now in a different form, not as alertness, not as awareness, but as rest, as the specific, deep, earned rest of someone who has been truly and completely somewhere and is now truly and completely coming home. Home is here. Home is wherever you are lying right now, whatever room and whatever city and whatever country holds your body tonight. Home is the specific darkness of your own particular night, the specific weight of your own particular blanket, the specific silence or ambient sound of your own particular place. Home is your breathing, which has been with you every moment of this night, in Rome and in your body simultaneously, never absent, never failing, always doing the work that breathing does without being asked. Your breath is home. Your body is home. The dark behind your eyes is home. And sleep, the sleep that is so close now, so near, so entirely available to you. Sleep is the most complete version of home that exists. The version where the self sets down every burden and every performance and every effort of being conscious, and simply rests in the profound safety of unconsciousness, the deepest rest there is, the rest that repairs everything the day damaged and prepares everything the next day will need. Let Rome go. Not as a loss. Rome is not going anywhere. It will be here every time you need it, stored in the place where this night has settled in you, available whenever you want to return. But let it go as a present preoccupation, as the thing your attention is on, as the landscape your mind is walking through. Let it soften from a place you are in to a place you have been, from the immediate and vivid present of a night you are living to the warm and grateful past of a night you have lived. Let the forum's columns soften. Let the torchlight blur. Let the sound of the water in the channels fade into the background of your awareness, and then into the deeper background, and then into the place where sounds go when sleep arrives, and they are no longer distinguishable from the ambient sound of the dreaming mind. Let all of it soften and blur and fade without loss, without grief, without any resistance at all. Simply let it go the way you let an exhale go, without effort, without management, simply opening and allowing and releasing what has been held. You have been in Rome. You have walked the stones that Julius Caesar walked. You have breathed the air of his last night. You have heard the whispers of the men who would end him, and you have seen the lamp in the window above the bakery, and you have stood in the forum and felt the weight of everything it has held, and you have been present for the silence before dawn and the first approach of morning light. You have done this. You have been somewhere real and enormous and irreplaceable, and you have carried yourself through it with presence and with care and with the specific courage of someone who chooses not to look away from what is difficult about being human. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, quite a lot. And now it is time to rest. The sounds are becoming one sound. Not disappearing, not the abrupt silence of something being switched off, but blending. The individual sounds of the city losing their separateness and merging into a single continuous texture that is more feeling than sound, more presence than information, more the atmosphere of a place than the specific audible details of it. The fountain in the garden behind the wall, the Tiber in the distance, the first bird somewhere in the eaves of a temple, the water in the channels at the roadside, the low, barely perceptible vibration of a city with 1 million people breathing in it. All of it blending, all of it becoming the sound of Rome, the way the sound of the sea becomes the sound of the sea, rather than the sound of individual waves, a totality, an impression, a presence. Let that sound move through you rather than asking you to pay attention to it. Let it be background rather than foreground. Let it be the medium you exist in rather than the object of your attention. Let it be to your awareness what water is to a fish, so completely and continuously present that it is no longer noticed, simply inhabited. You are inside Rome's sound. You are inside this night's sound, and the sound is carrying you now, very gently, in the direction that all sounds carry you when they become background rather than foreground, when they become atmosphere rather than information, toward the quiet, toward the interior, quiet that is sleep's antechamber, the room before the room, the hush before the complete hush, the light. The light in the eastern sky has arrived at the specific quality that the Romans call the first light of morning, not dawn, which is the sun itself, but the light before the sun, the light that is pure sky brightness rather than sun brightness, a soft and diffuse and all-directional light that eliminates deep shadow without creating sharp highlight, that makes the world visible without making it bright, that reveals without insisting. In this light, Rome is at its most beautiful. The stone of its buildings is the color of cream or of bone, a color that daylight will make more specific and less lovely, and the sky above the buildings is the precise shade of blue that exists only in this specific window of the morning, a blue with purple still in it, and night still in it, and day beginning to push through from beneath it, a blue that has no adequate name in any language because it exists for perhaps 20 minutes and is gone, replaced by the merely beautiful blue of ordinary morning. In these 20 minutes, Rome is most itself, in this specific and some unrepeatable quality of light that belongs to no other hour. And you are in it for the last time this night. You are in it. Let your body sink further into wherever it rests. Feel the surface beneath you receiving your weight with complete and unconditional willingness. It has been doing this all night without comment, without resistance, without requiring anything from you in return, simply supporting you with the total, impersonal generosity of the physical world. The mattress, or the bed, or the floor, or whatever holds you is not judging the night you have had. It is not assessing your performance, or measuring your progress, or evaluating whether you have done enough to deserve its support. It is simply there, beneath you, receiving your weight, doing what surfaces do, and you are simply here, on top of it, releasing your weight into it, doing what tired bodies do. Your breath is very slow now, so slow that you might not notice it is still happening, if not for the fact that you are still here, still present, still receiving these words in some form, even as the reception grows softer and less distinct, even as the words begin to arrive at the edge of your awareness, rather than at its center, even as the difference between hearing and dreaming becomes less clear than it was an hour ago, when you were walking through Rome with full attention and full body and fully awake eyes. You are between now, between the night that is ending and the sleep that is arriving. You are in the antechamber. The door is open. You do not need to walk through it. Sleep does not work that way. Sleep is not a place you arrive at by trying. Sleep is a place you find yourself in when you stop trying, when the trying dissolves, and what remains is simply the body at rest in the dark. You are almost there. The trying has almost dissolved. Rome is a dream now. Or rather, Rome is the memory of a walk you took, and the memory is softening at its edges the way all memories soften when the mind is not actively preserving them, the details beginning to blur and blend and lose their sharp particularity. The form's columns merging with the torchlight, and the torchlight merging with the soldier's lamp, and the soldier's lamp merging with the child's doorway, and the child's doorway merging with the vestal flame, and the vestal flame merging with the stars, everything merging, everything returning to the unified impression that it all came from, the single, seamless experience of having been in a place and having been genuinely, completely, respectfully present there. The experience is whole. The night is complete. Rome has given you what it had to give, and you have given it what you had to give, and the exchange is done, and what remains is simply the residue of a night well spent, the specific, quiet bodily satisfaction of having been truly somewhere rather than merely passing through. Let the form go. It is there, behind the closed eyes of your imagination, the columns still standing in the first light, patient and indifferent and permanent. Let it be there without requiring your attention. Let the vestal flame burn on without your witnessing. Let the soldier's letter stay folded against his heart. Let the two women in their lamplight continue their conversation into the morning. Let the child sleep. Let Calpurnia dream. Let Caesar sleep for these last hours in which sleep is still available to him, in which the morning that is coming has not yet arrived, in which there is still this, the specific mercy of one more night, one more dark, one more chance to rest before the day does what days do. You are resting too. Right now, at this moment, your body is resting, and your mind is resting, and the night is receiving both of you with the same complete and unconditional welcome that Rome's stones received your footsteps all night, without judgment, without requirement, simply as a matter of what the night is for and what it does, and what it has always done, across every night that has ever been, for every creature that has ever needed the dark to restore what the light used up. The night is for this. The night has always been for this. And this night, this specific, extraordinary night that you have just walked through in its entirety has been particularly, profoundly for this, for arriving at rest, for the quiet after the walking, for the deep and earned and beautiful stillness of a person who has been somewhere real and is now safely home. Sleep is arriving, not as a decision, not as an act of will, not as something you are doing or achieving or earning. Sleep does not work that way and has never worked that way. Sleep is not earned. Sleep is simply what happens when everything that was preventing it has been gently removed by the long work of a night that knew what it was doing. The city of Rome, in its last night before everything changed, has done that work for you. It has carried you through its streets and shown you its people and held you inside its weight and its beauty and its ancient patient stone and its lamplight and its silence and its first light and its approaching morning, and in carrying you through all of that, it has also, without announcing it, done the slow and necessary work of removing what was in the way. The thoughts, the concerns, the subtle vigilance that the waking mind maintains even when nothing specific is threatening. The habitual and exhausting readiness for the next thing. All of it has been walked out of you by the walking. All of it has been replaced gradually and completely by the specific quality of a mind that has been truly occupied and is now at last empty in the best possible sense. Empty of the things that clutter sleep, and full only of the warmth and the weight and the gentle gravity of a night that carried you well. Close your eyes completely. Let Rome go completely. Let the torches and the columns and the voices and the stone and the water and the channels and the stars and the cypress trees and the vestal flame and the approaching morning, let all of it go completely, gently, without effort, the way you let go of something you have been holding that was never yours to keep, but only ever yours to carry for a while. You carried it. You carried it well. You can set it down now. The bed holds you. The dark holds you. The breath holds you, and sleep. Slow, deep, complete. The sleep of a person who walked through an ancient city on an ancient night and came back carrying something quiet and something good. Sleep is here. It has been here. Patient as Rome's stones, waiting at the edge of every sentence for the moment when the sentences would stop and you would arrive. You have arrived. The sentences are stopping. The night is done. Rest now. Rome is resting. The vestal flame is still burning, and it does not need your eyes on it to keep burning. Caesar is sleeping, and he does not need your watching over him to sleep. The senators are wherever they are, and the morning will find them there, and the morning will do what mornings do, and history will proceed as history does, large and indifferent, and full of ordinary people living their ordinary lives and inside its currents, doing the best they can, being as present as they can manage, loving who they love, carrying what they carry, setting it down when they finally can. You are setting it down now. All of it. The whole night. Every stone of it. Every lamp of it. Every face of it. Every word spoken in it. Setting it down in the place where tonight's experiences go. Not gone, not lost, but stored, held, integrated into the person you are. And the person you are slowly, night by night, becoming. Rome will be there when you wake. The world will be there when you wake. And you will be there too, rested and held and quiet inside, carrying something from this night that you did not have before. Something that has no precise name, but that lives in the body the way all the most important things live, in the body's oldest and most honest register, beneath language, beneath thought, in the place where the truth goes when it has been fully received. Sleep. The night is yours. It always was.